you all for being here. I know it's super hot, so I'll try and keep things as quick as possible. We got a couple speakers, special sign unveiling, but we'll move things right along. Ed, Eddie, Arnie, Cooch, Mr. Couture, Officer Couture, Officer Ed. These are all names by which we knew Sergeant Edward M. Couture, who was taken far too early from us on this day 27 years ago. As I look out into the crowd, I see folks from town hall and town offices. I see our elected officials. I see our brothers and sisters from the fire department. Did they leave? There's some people from the DPW, from the electric light department. And I see a lot of police officers. There are seasoned officers and new officers. There are retirees, active duty. There are some here who worked with Ed. And there are far too many who never had the opportunity to know him. I see community members. I see his family. In total, I see his friends. The breadth and depth of the gathering here today doesn't surprise me, but it does humble me, and it warms my heart that everybody came out for this. In preparing for today, I asked a lot of you for some memories of Ed, something that brought him to mind. Of course, I heard about his unforgettable smile, his infectious laugh, the twinkle that he'd have in his eye. I heard about how much he enjoyed accompanying McGruff the crime dog to town events. It brought to me, personally, a memory of how happy I was and how proud I was when Ed's daughter Brianna would babysit my own children. I was reminded of how Ed not only served the residents of Middleton as a police officer, but served our country in the United States Army. I think we've done a good job in Middleton remembering Sergeant Couture. A ball field named in his memory was recently rededicated, and we had a new sign installed there. Many of us wear these little yellow pins which have sergeant stripes and the number 5 on them. Number 5 was his badge number. And this street was recently named in his memory. And today, thanks to the efforts and the generosity of the Middleton Police Benevolent Association, we'll unveil a commemorative plaque to sit atop that sign so that all who pass by here will know exactly why this is called Couture Way. Before we do unveil the sign, I'd like to invite a couple folks up to say a few words. First, Senator Bruce Tarr, who is so supportive of the Couture family and the town of Middleton in the weeks and months and years after Ed's passing. Senator?
Thanks very much, Matt, and good afternoon. And what an honor it is to be here with all of you from all walks of life, from throughout the community, as we pay tribute to the life and the ongoing legacy of Sergeant Ed Couture. You know, seeing so many people here, as Matt recognized, is important because it reflects the fact that Ed Couture was someone who put this community first. Raised a wonderful family, Ashlyn and Brianna. Marianne is here. Always proud of his family, always proud of their accomplishments, but always proud as well that his family was anchored right here in the town of Middleton. We always remember how dedicated Ed was, and we think about the fact that there were so many days, so many occasions, he was giving support to another officer who might be junior that needed a little bit of advice or guidance. He was stopped by the side of the road, helping a person that needed some sort of assistance, which might have seemed minor, but for that person in that moment, it was the biggest thing in their life. And we think about the fact that he was so wholly committed to all of us and our public safety, that he gave us everything he had, literally and figuratively. When we think about the day that, once again, he was here, right down the street, making sure that we were safe at a construction site. Something that was an everyday thing, and is an everyday thing for many of those in law enforcement. But we were painfully reminded that while it seemed to be an everyday thing, that day it wasn't. And I remember the news. I remember how devastating it was. I remember how we all felt the shock and the depth of that loss, because someone who we loved and someone who loved us was taken from our midst. The pain was searing, it was palpable, and it was lasting. But in the wake of that, we were buoyed. We were buoyed by the fact that we recognized how committed to us he was. We were buoyed by how courageous and inspirational Anne and Ashlyn and Brianna were, dealing with a loss that was unthinkable, but dealing with it with such grace and dealing with it with such strength that you couldn't help but be inspired. And we all were. And we learned a lesson once again, that when we care about each other, we are not alone in this world. We are together. We depend on each other, we support each other, we care about each other. And we remember that Ed's life and Ed's shining example should always remind us of that. He gave us his all. He cared about all of us. And he reminded us that, unfortunately, on that day, the routine traffic detail became a tragedy. But in all the days following that day, we've been reminded of the strength of this community, the unity of this community, and the fact that we all stick together in good times and in bad. And now, thanks to the Police Relief Association, we're going to have a reminder that as we go about in our lives back and forth, we look up at that sign and we remember why we should be good to each other and care about each other and support each other. And we're reminded that the Couch, he may have passed from our midst physically, but he lives in our hearts, he lives in the spirit of this community, and he lives on in a legacy that should motivate our actions every day. Thank you to the Relief Association for this design. Thanks to all of you for being together, and thanks for allowing me to be part of such an incredible community. I'm so proud of this town, and it's days like this that make me even prouder. Thank you all very much.
Next up, I'll ask Select Board Chairperson Rick Cassiotis to come up and say a few words on behalf of the town. As probably everybody here knows, Rick is also a longtime police officer with the department as well. So, Rick.
Well, it's great seeing everyone here today. And we're in two hats. It wasn't hard to which one to choose for today. I see a lot of familiar faces, and thank you one and all. On the town side, I'd like to say what a tremendous effort from the Middleton Police Benevolent Association to put forth this tribute. An overdue tribute to someone that, as Captain so eloquently said, a lot of people knew him, but it's too bad there's so many more that would have loved him. And being a young guy coming up, you learn something from all these cops that were here ahead of me, and Ed was one of them. You learn a lot of things once you start doing it on your own, and how to do vehicle stops, and how to control yourself in a tense situation, how to order a tuna salad with hots. But in all seriousness, it was a day like today, many years ago, that Sergeant Ed Couture gave the ultimate sacrifice, as did his young family at the time. And we'll say to that, again, thank you to Middleton Police Benevolent Association for such a public tribute, so that for all those who will drive by and see it, that don't know, will know. And for all of us that do know, will remember. So, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. If I could now ask Officer Jordan Kemp, who spearheaded this effort for the Benevolent Association, to step up. And Ann, will you help us unveil the sign as well?
As we lift our voices in prayer for police officers, we also extend our heartfelt supplications to their families. Shower them with your divine protection and comfort, for they too bear the weight of worry and sacrifice. Grant them strength in moments of separation and peace in times of uncertainty. Let them always feel profound gratitude of a thankful community for the invaluable support they provide. Come with me.
To offer a few words of thanks. I'd like to thank you all again for coming out on such a hot day. In particular, I'd like to thank the DPW for their help in installing the sign. I'd like to thank the town and the select board for their support in our efforts to put the sign out there. And most of all, to the Middleton Police Benevolent Association for their efforts, spearheaded by Officer Kemp, in both coming up with this idea and making it a reality. Lastly, I'd like to offer a thanks from Annie. I'd like to offer a heartfelt thanks to all of you from Ed's family, from Ann, from his daughters Brianna and Ashlyn. They send a reminder of their thanks, in particular, to those responders who were there that day. Some of you are sprinkled throughout us today. She reminds us of how our village came together in the wake of that event and supported each other, not only the family, but for all those affected, and many were affected by it. The family is very appreciative of the support the town has shown them all these years, and are thankful for the police department and the town in their dedication to not just remembering and honoring the life of a police officer who made the ultimate sacrifice, but for keeping in our hearts and in our memories the memory of Ed Couture, a hometown guy. Thank you all for coming out.